This is the Doing Better show. And what I hope makes this show different than other shows is we're not trying to pick a side. We're not trying to put other people down. We're not trying to own some space here. We are really trying to we're trying to learn and grow together. And there's lots of people in the world right now who are learning and growing, and they don't get nearly enough attention. There's people in the community who are artists, who are entrepreneurs, who are activists, who are really doing amazing stuff. And the goal of this show is to feature those people and get them the attention they need, and hopefully build some community around people that are actually doing things, because there's lots of people out there doing things, and we need more attention on people who are putting themselves out there, who are being creative, who are being brave, who are doing things that matter and impact other people, and a lot less attention on the critics, because it is so easy to criticize and it is so much harder to actually go and create. So this is the Doing Better show, and we're going to be doing better today.
You kind of have to just like have an open mind coming into the world.
People think that there's a difference. Like, no, I'm working smarter. Like, no, you're just being lazy.
And even if Fox News and MSNBC take different views on a topic, the topics are the same thing on all the channels. I think if you look in the last even 10 years with social media, when social media first came out, it was just about posting pictures of your vacation and your dinner and whatever. And there was really no sense that it was going to have any disruption to news and information. And CNN and MSNBC and Fox News pretty much had a monopoly on TV news information, video news information. The news recently is that CNN's ratings have plummeted. CNN tried to release a streaming service called CNN Plus. It was an entire failure. Whole thing got them nowhere. They lost a ton of money on it. Their viewership is down. They're getting a little spike because Donald Trump was the best thing to ever happen to CNN, because people hate watching Donald Trump on CNN. But their ratings are in trouble. And TV news in general is not doing well. Other offshoots of TV news that are also sort of mainstream media, BuzzFeed and Vice News, both started off as more alternative media, but really became nothing more than more mainstream media. Those both went down and failed, despite some cash injections from George Soros and some other people. Those have gone down recently as well. And increasingly, people are getting their news online. Myself, I pretty much only consume independent media. I'm on Rumble. I'm on even Instagram, TikTok. There's people with channels on all these places that are producing their own media, whether it's right from the field, people in war zones, people in cities where things are happening. Independent media is everywhere. So I would like to talk about the transition from the old TV media to the new TikTok, Rumble, YouTube, etc., and what that means for America, what it means for the world, what it means for the way that the younger generation is consuming media and news. Is it going to change the type of news that we consume, and is that going to be a good thing or a bad thing? So, any thoughts?
I like where everything's going. I feel like everybody just listens to podcasts nowadays. They don't watch the news anymore. People that still watch the news and still listen to the news right now, it's kind of crazy.
What do you personally like? What do you get your news from?
I mean, like you said, a lot of independent places. I'm still on YouTube. I don't watch the news at all. If I do watch the news, they're always trying to make you worry about something that doesn't even matter. Joe Rogan, Tate. Yeah, pretty much mostly like Joe Rogan and Tate. It's pretty much, I got into like alternative media because I started seeing that like every single company known to man right now is like under the same company, or under a very few select groups. So it's like, it's not hard to believe that if one person says, hey, like, let's not show that, that everybody's gonna listen and they're gonna try their hardest to not listen to that. And it's like, yeah, I'm not really trying to swing one way or another. I'm just trying to know what's going on in the world.
there's a little clip, and we'll show it in a minute. Of I don't know if you guys have seen it, of a bunch of local newses, and
I was literally just thinking about that when you were saying it. Is like all the local newses are saying the same exact thing.
At the same
Doesn't matter what side they were on, they were just pushing the same words, the media out there.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about the trouble and trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
So what's your news source now?
I honestly, it sounds kind of like lame, I guess, but like TikTok is where I get everything because it's honestly like people's point of view.
Right.
And I can like make my own opinion on whatever. I'll see both sides on TikTok too. It's not just like I'm getting just all one side, one opinion. Like I'll see multiple sides to an issue. But like one of the main things that I noticed is like how real it is, because there was something going on. I think there was like protests going on in Paris or something.
Yeah. Okay.
And people on TikTok pointed out like, oh, look at when you look up Paris on TikTok versus when you look up Paris on Instagram, and it's like everything on Instagram is all pretty pictures, Eiffel Tower, like croissants, whatever. And TikTok is like everybody's protesting and people are out there like trying to make a difference for whatever they believe in. And I'm just like, wow, the fact that they're censoring that on Instagram is like goes to show they probably do that on every single news station that they feed to us, all the social media apps, because I know Instagram, Facebook are like connected and stuff by Meta now. So
Right.
I know they probably push that all together, and that's probably one of the reasons why they want to get rid of TikTok.
Oh, that's
have
the
you
topic.
That is yeah.
They're
So
trying to control everything.
I want to talk about Restrict Act, I believe is the thing. Well, I want to talk about that a little bit more. Have you heard the thing about the feed in China being different than the algorithm in China being different than here, and that it's like more positive there? And what do you think about that?
Yeah, I've heard that it's like they'll push like more educational stuff over there. Like so, because what you see is what you're influenced by, basically. So like they'll push more like medical, more like healthy living, but here it's just like people just get a bunch of dancing, I guess,
Who could
sometimes
do the
on
funniest dance.
yeah, just funny videos, stuff like that. I think honestly to each his own. Is like if that's we have, I think, more, I guess, like freedom to see whatever we want here, because if they're only pushing one thing over there,
Right.
that's kind of like limited. There's so much more content out there, and over here it's like whatever you prefer is what you're gonna see.
Right. I
Quote
think.
unquote.
Well, what do you mean?
I feel like they just like throwing stuff in front of you, like, even if like your feed's completely different, like a news break. You know how like you're watching TV and then you get a news break and then everybody's watching the same thing. I feel like they have like some of that embedded into the algorithm. So it's like even though you watch different things, you're probably gonna you've seen the same video as your friend, but you guys have completely different like things that you like. I just feel like there's a lot of things that go on behind the curtains.
I know I'm on a completely different side of TikTok than my friends.
How do you know that?
They'll bring up stuff, like a bunch of my coworkers too. They'll bring up stuff like, like, have you seen this trend or have you seen this? And I'm just like, no. And especially when, like the creator of TikTok, like put out that message about like what's going on, like, politically with TikTok, I was getting news about that on my page. I wasn't getting no dances. I wasn't getting no like, get ready with me. No, it was all news.
I think so. For me, the thing that first impressed me about TikTok when I got on there, because again, I being of the slightly older generation, I thought TikTok was just dancing app for kids, and when my friend put me onto it, I was really impressed with the algorithm because first I think it sort of sees your age and your gender. Like you get a lot of thirst trap videos right away if you're a man. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that, but like the first thing I got was like thirst traps. And when you ignore that and you start clicking on some other things, or people send you things and you start following people and it starts to learn you. And that happened very, very, very quickly. Like, I was super impressed by that. And then like you talk about your side of TikTok, and that's like, that's like part of the language around TikTok is the sides of TikTok. And you'll see people like, oh, I didn't know what happened on this side of TikTok when it's something that I'm familiar with.
They have like little categories. There's like cook talk, book talk. Like they'll just like do play on words with that too. If you want to like look into something specifically, you just search it up like that.
Yeah, so like my side of TikTok very quickly became like news and like anti-establishment kind of stuff, which appealed to me a lot. And it was effective. Like I went from TikTok is stupid and for kids to like not all day, but like spending plenty of time on there pretty quickly.
Like for sure before going to bed on TikTok, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a TikToker?
Not at all.
He needs to.
It makes my head hurt. Just the one topic to another. Like if you watch somebody on TikTok, or at least not you guys, because you guys are talking about a very interesting side of TikTok, but like anybody that just watches bullshit, it's like one moment they're watching a cooking video, another moment they're watching like somebody play with something, touch something, and then another moment you're watching
ASMR.
Yeah, like you just see like it goes from, let's say, school to a firehouse to a drawing to this, like it just goes like all over the place, and it's like, I don't know, just the fact that it had like it's too much going on. I feel it like literally affecting my brain in real time.
Well, that if it's doing that for you, that's just because it's trying to figure you out.
Well,
so you just gotta start liking the ones that you like, and then it'll push more of that on your page.
I like trained myself mentally that if I'm on my phone for more than like 2 minutes and I didn't learn something productive, or I just find myself just swiping, I'm not really on TikTok, but I'm definitely on Instagram Reels. When I see myself like too much on that, I just like I put my phone down.
It's the same thing. There's so many people that just like post their TikToks onto Instagram.
Well, right. So like once TikTok blew up, right? Like then YouTube Shorts bit that style, and like Instagram bit like every Facebook. You go on Facebook, same thing in the middle of your page. It's all I think it's Reels, right? That's what they call it on Facebook. So like clearly they found something that works. But you talked about like training yourself to get off there, and I've noticed myself with whether no matter what platform it's on, it's easy to fall into the hole as far as like I'm just gonna watch a couple more, and then I'm gonna get up and do what I gotta do.
Yeah, no, for sure. And TikTok has this thing where it's like, if it notices that you're watching for too long, it says like, hey, stop, take a break. I blocked that. So I blocked that, so I never see it. And I do lose like hours at a time sometimes. I'm not going to lie.
So like, do you ever like sit and think like, weigh the value that it brings to you as far as the information and your side of TikTok and all the things you get from it versus like the time suck and the...
Well, sometimes I do want to be on there and just watch it for like shits and giggles, and that's not what's on my page. It's just like a bunch of information about everything. So like anything that has to do like the whole like lighting setup, I've learned like more about camera settings, how to take like better photos. I've learned how to take photos through there. I started like doing nails because I learned how to do nails on there by watching videos on there. I
mean, I've learned one of the things that I got into that is not in the anti-establishment sphere is gardening. Like, so I something I started doing a little later in life, but I learned a lot of gardening hacks. I like to cook, like recipes on TikTok.
I follow people that can cook on there.
Like you can learn a lot on there. I found that like when it's more self-directed, I'm getting more out of it. So like if I find a video I like, and then instead of just swiping to the next one, I go to that person's page and see what the rest of their content. That's when I feel like I'm getting the most out of it.
Yeah.
And not being the like,
Yeah, no, I feel like scrolling just to scroll is for the Instagram Reels because nothing is really curated towards me. It's just like random. Whatever's viral is what's on Instagram is what I feel like.
And more clickbaity stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people crashing into things or like, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And the
Yeah.
same thing with on Snapchat, like Snapchat stories. Like I
Oh
feel like
my
that's
God,
the
I hate
lowest
that.
quality
Yeah.
of all that stuff, right? That's literally for like
The
sitting
little
on the
news
toilet
things.
only.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. The little news thing on the side that's just like, oh, this person and this person broke up, and it's like clickbait, and then you click on it and nothing.
I'm not
It
even
says
gonna
nothing
lie.
about it.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie. I fall for that shit all the time.
Yeah, me too.
No, but that's my
It
pet
looks
peeve.
real interesting,
Right.
and then it's not even about
Yeah.
that.
Not even close. It feels like it should be illegal. Like obviously
Psych,
I'm not
I lied.
but it feels like such a cheat. Yeah. So obviously we can talk about the that side of it all day. Do you think it's going to change the way it's obviously changing the way that people consume news? Do you think it's going to change the way that people interact with news, what we learn from the news, how the news affects people's behavior in a way that's different from the mainstream media, from the stuff that, you know, our parents' generation are watching? Like, because I really don't know anybody my age or younger, I don't know anybody my age or younger that really watches the news anymore. I go to my parents' house and like it's on in the background, like they got the.
Oh no, yeah, my mom. Yeah, she watches the news. Not even the English news. Not even the news from here though. She's on Telemundo, like just watching the stuff that's going on back home and stuff. But I think it's already affecting the way that people receive news and how they take that information and like act in society. Because I've seen a lot of people like come together, like look for like with the like Black Lives Matter movement and stuff. Everybody basically banded together on TikTok. Things were organized on TikTok. It does a lot for people there. You wouldn't be able to do that with just like a news station.
So, do you think it makes people easier or harder to control? Because we're talking about the control. The control on the mainstream news narrative is really clear, right? They've picked their topics, and even if Fox News and MSNBC take different views on a topic, the topics are the same thing on all the channels. Do you think it? So you brought up the Black Lives Matter thing. That was the same on all of TikTok, right? So isn't that the same thing?
It wasn't really the same on all of TikTok though.
What do you mean?
You could see there was people that were actually like at the event. Like I said, I get whatever side, like I get multiple sides on my page. So I'll see people literally being like negative towards it, people being positive towards it, people that don't care about it. I'll get every single side. And then that's where I just like make my own opinion.
Yeah.
That's why I like my pages like that. So I'm like, TikTok knows me. I love it. But I wouldn't say it's like the same information being thrown at you because it's all different perspectives.
Yeah, one comment on that is kind of like on the news is kind of a script, and then you know they send it to everybody. As you know, in turn with TikTok, it's kind of like anybody that has a phone could post, or anybody that has a phone could voice their opinion to everybody in the world at that moment.
But doesn't the algorithm and AI effectively give them the ability to only promote certain messages anyway? Like even if it's organically happening, right?
100%.
You know, if not everyone, let's say 5% of people are saying the exact same thing, which is going to happen on anything, right? If that's what they push to the front and it looks like 90% of people are all saying the same thing or talking about the same thing. So like, for instance, again, let's talk about Black Lives Matter as a topic. That's an easy one. If only 5% of the people cared about Black Lives Matter, either way, positive, negative, whatever, but they push that to the front for everybody, isn't that controlling the narrative just as much as CNN, Fox News, MSNBC?
Oh, you mean like when they actually like put it like at the top when you put the search thing?
No, I mean
'Cause
like actually
they
like
did do that,
when
but-
you swipe to the next thing, right? Like you don't that's the algorithm puts in front of you what the algorithm wants to put in front of you. So can't that give them the same ability to control what everyone's seeing?
I still say it's like it's just whatever you want to see on your page, because even if it is pushed to your page, it could easily not come up again or nothing like it come up again depending on how much time you spend on that video.
I feel like we're in a good in between right now that everything isn't controlled yet, but if, we don't get on these platforms, just start creating new platforms in the next like 2-3 years, everything's going to be controlled just like how the media is.
Yeah.
It's like, not for nothing, there's a lot of people that don't even know how to use their phone fully. I work, with that. So not a lot of people really understand technology. So like a majority of the world is like kind of still lost. But now recently with the news going to the internet and everybody just being on the internet, even like, old Dominicans and, old people just on Facebook and like getting on other platforms, it's definitely like changing towards that, but it's not fully like controlled yet. There's still like Rumble, there's Twitter getting by like Musk. Twitter in the last couple of months has turned up crazy. So like, there's a lot more freedom now, at least like depending on who owns them.
Because there's a market for it. Like there's definitely like for me, I used to be all about YouTube.
Not for
and
long,
then YouTube started censoring everything. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not, I'll still go on there to, learn how to, fix the control arm on my car or something like for basic stuff like that. But I don't trust YouTube in any way, shape, or form. Like that's why, for me, like that's why Rumble is where I go for anything with any kind of seriousness.
Yeah, I feel like I could definitely see down the line, like, we're not going to be able to trust anything on the internet, but there's definitely like, if they want you to go one way, you got to really understand, look at yourself, like, is that what you believe? Is that what you think? And like, just not resonate so much with like things that you're watching on media right now, just because like I said, it's very, very, very sticky in between right now, especially with artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence made the 10 years that it would have taken for everything to get controlled into probably like 2-3 years, and in reality a couple of months. Right. Just because like ever since ChatGPT and those things coming out, it's like more like you could make a whole 10-page website in like an hour nowadays, just because you could just ChatGPT, talk about this, and then it learns. So you could talk about something else, but then you could be like, okay, go back to my business. Right. Let's talk about this, that, with, and include some of the stuff the bullshit that we just talked. And it'll include it. And like, even to the point where it's like, the other day I was having fun with it. I was like, oh, that's too much. Like, rate less. It's like, oh, make it easier to understand. Oh, that was too rude. Oh, that was too this, too that, talking to it like a person. And I kept doing different prompts, different ways. Like, the more detailed you are, the more detailed it gets. And it's kind of like having a second brain, and anybody has that power right now. So it's kind of like crazy. Like, the next couple of months is insane. That I know some people, at least my uncle, he has like this idea that he's been watching that's basically like, I'm not gonna say too much into it, but artificial intelligence to just make videos like, calming videos, top 10 things that make people calm, describe them, break them down to 10 more points. That's already like 10 points on 10 points. That's 100 points in just 2-3 questions that you ask the AI.
So people love top 10 videos.
Yeah, exactly. And describe all of these topics, and then on top of that too, it's like the way you can format it is you can make 10 videos on one topic and then make a video on those top 10 topics and then make 10 more videos breaking down those 10 topics. And it's just a whole bunch of different ways that like you don't even have to think anymore. You just have to ask the right questions. So someone that could really ask good questions could definitely like just turn everything up. Engineer
Des, did you have something to add about ChatGPT?
Yeah, I've ever seen like a video on that. It made a full-on like game. It's just kind of insane to me that
it could code for you.
What?
It could code for you. You
yeah,
can
exactly.
literally tell it to make code for you.
Intelligence and how far us as people have like advanced to be able to make things that can
make things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't even have to think anymore. You just have to think of the best questions.
At this point, if you're not using ChatGPT, you're gonna be left behind.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing?
It doesn't matter if it's a good thing or not.
No. Is it a good thing to be like? Is it a good thing that is ChatGPT adding value in a meaningful way to people's lives?
If you make it.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, me personally, this is just something like in my everyday life type thing. I used to be super terrified of like going to the gym because I didn't know what to do. You know what I did? ChatGPT, write a workout plan for a 22-year-old female at Planet Fitness so that, it can use like that equipment. And then I put in my goals and it gave me a whole thing.
Yeah. And then on top of that too, you could take that same one, tweak up the questions, and create a whole ebook and start selling it online for like $5 and not have any type of school training on gym fitness or anything. Like, you don't need to be an expert at anything anymore. You could just ask a good question. Oh, best cooking recipes for a diabetic that can't eat this, that, and the third. And then they'll create that and then be like, okay, make me 10 more lists with different stuff, different meals, this, that. And
you
then,
can meal prep.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, but then instead of going to a trainer, that's what you did, right?
Yeah.
So then the reason
It's free.
that of course. Oh yeah.
yeah.
So I'm in your individual instance, that was undoubtedly a good thing. That's 100% good. But the reason that ChatGPT has that information is because personal trainers educated themselves and put it online, right? So, but now there's a personal trainer out of a job. Theoretically, say you had the money to go to a personal trainer, you were going to do that. If everyone can do what you did, then no one is going to get a job as a personal trainer anymore. Then where does the new information on that come from? Because ChatGPT isn't going to go research more personal training techniques. ChatGPT is not going to go in the gym and be like, actually, I found that when you do too many of this, like, well, you know, the actual work of being a personal trainer. The difference between some things that are really good in the short term have negative long-term consequences. So if everyone can do what you did, which they clearly can. I mean, not everyone knows about ChatGPT, not everyone is hip to that. But let's say everyone tomorrow, you know, knew about personal training on ChatGPT, then every personal trainer is out of a job.
Well, I don't think so.
Why?
I feel like eventually, yes, people will get to that point where AI robots are going to take over everything type thing. Like, they're going to do everything for us. It might be like a Wall-E type world. But I think that it depends on that person and if they start seeing results based on the information that ChatGPT gave them or not, or if they feel that like a person could help them more. Maybe ChatGPT will get their foot in the door at the gym or something, but then now they want something more personalized because they see that what's on there is not working.
No, that's a big one too, because I go to the gym with like a couple of my friends, and some of my friends literally tell me the only reason they go to the gym is because I go to the gym. And it's because some people like going with other people, doing other things. And so, you know, kind of the same thing, but with like a personal trainer, just somebody to be on top of you, to do everything. You know, obviously the well-disciplined people that could just read something and just do it, you know, they're going to prosper with that. But then the people that actually depend on other people, depend on other people's energy and all of that, still going to be kind of a market. It's just not going to be as big. You can't just be like, oh, I'm going to be a personal trainer. It's going to make you work even harder to be that personal trainer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So are you guys familiar with the writer's strike that's going on right now? The Hollywood. So there's a writer's strike right now. And one of the big things that the writers are mad about is the use of AI in TV writing, right? Mostly because most of them are unoriginal and can't come up with anything better than what ChatGPT comes up with. But what you made me think of is maybe what this does is just raise the bar for professionals, right?
Exactly.
You can't just give me some lame workout plan that a computer can come up with. You can't just give me some stupid jokes for my late night TV show that some computer can come up with. You got to raise the bar and make things more personal, more cutting edge, more interesting,
That's
more
facts too.
artful.
Because you know, I do a lot of stuff on the internet, making websites, doing stuff like that, and like you can't just write a description for this and that. It's gonna sound robotic. It's gonna be like, you know, generic. You know, I've had to, like how I said the other day, I was having fun with it, saying that was too rude, that was too this, that was too that, whatever, like really getting into it. Like, it definitely takes, you copy it, it does all the busy work, but then you have to read through it after and definitely highlight your points, say things differently, so it doesn't sound like, you know, like a robot like this, you know, have a good day, or you squat, and then you do more squatting, and then you squat again. You know, like you have to. So
you're an artist. Have you played with the AI art stuff at all? Like, so I was just fucking around. I found one of these AI art things. I was like, give me a picture of Al Gore smoking blunts. And then another one was like, I don't know, a hyena riding an elephant. And it gave me a picture of Al Gore smoking blunts and a hyena riding an elephant.
Yeah, I've seen some of those too. I think that's actually pretty cool. Like, obviously, I've seen something like come up on the internet where people are saying like, oh, you have to be able to tell that it's like AI generated. Because I don't know if you guys saw, but there was like this picture of like Trump being arrested and it was an AI picture.
Yeah. Deep fakes.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh
and like God. There was people that believed that it was real. And me personally, I could tell it was fake. I could just tell by like, it looked like it was drawn with like digitally.
Okay.
It didn't look like a picture to me, but a lot of people thought it was a picture. And that's where I think it's like AI is like becoming this huge thing where you honestly just have to be careful with what you're watching online and making sure that it is real.
I guess I think with so many things, it really highlights the importance of being able to think for yourself
Yeah.
and be a critical mind. Because for a lot of people, I'm sure they saw that Trump being arrested picture, like, all right, I'm posting this. Like, they
Yeah.
got him finally. Like, let's put it
Yeah.
on my wall, whatever.
I'll
But,
make
one
one point on like the AI, or at least with music. There's like a lot of fake music going around. That's like
Drake.
artists.
Drake. And
Like
it was
whole
fire.
albums, whole like artists in different languages, like Ariana Grande in Spanish. You know what I mean? Like crazy. Like you can't even believe half of what you listen nowadays. That's how crazy AI is getting. And every
Drake, that
realm
that
of
Drake
reality.
one with the Weeknd,
Yeah.
you can't lie, that was really good.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Better than like there's literally people that like I know that there's this guy on Spotify that drops music that he can make royalties off of other artists, just straight up just using that. And I know some people too
Wow.
personally that they'll work on like a beat or something, and then they'll have like AI generate artist rapping on that beat, and they'll upload their beat, and like it'll make a song with an artist on their beat.
If you're a Drake fan, does that make you feel like Drake is trash? If a computer can come up with something that you're like, oh, that's as good as Drake, and that's like,
I mean, no, because people have like ghostwriters all the time, and it's like
With
that's
Drake.
kind of the same thing.
yeah, okay.
It's just the computer's doing it instead of a person.
So yeah, it's funny because my my musician friend who owns this place and I were talking earlier about that. How I feel like sometime in the 80s or 90s, like they sort of figured out the formula to popular music, and like now a lot of popular music is not that it's not good, it's not, but it's more of a science rather than art. Like it's more than like we know exactly what chord progressions to do, we know what notes to hit, we know what topics people want to hear about.
Geometry
and,
for
like,
your ear.
is what?
It's geometry for your
Oh,
ear.
yeah. What?
On that, people also do stuff like that with like making songs for TikTok, since like TikTok can blow up like songs and stuff like that. That happened to like plenty. So I can't think of one right now because my brain's absolutely fried. But like they do that with like. There's this K-pop song I know, and like no one's ever heard of it before. And then after it was like a popular TikTok song, like everyone knew it, and it's like a big thing. It's like people like how you're talking about how people formulate stuff, and it's more of a science and art. People like formulate like songs for TikTok, like dance instructions. There's a YouTube video.
Oh,
on
like
that.
specifically targeted toward TikTok.
Exactly, yeah.
That
Specifically
makes sense.
targeted toward it.
So we have a great guest interview this week. I had a chance to go and meet with Greg from Root Awakening Kava in Nashua. You guys ever had kava before?
No.
So I will. I'll get us some samples and we'll try some kava after our next conversation. It is, especially if you had a long day at work, it is a great way to relax. It's all natural. It's not intoxicating. It doesn't mess you up like alcohol does.
I was just about to ask, like,
Yeah.
you trying to get me fucked up?
No, it's they call it getting rooted. So when you drink kava, you get rooted because
Rooted.
it's a root.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a great connector. It's good for conversation, but it doesn't. It's not. You can still drive. You're not gonna go. Send some text to your ex at the end of the night. Like
dead.
there won't be any of that kind of stuff. It's a much more with it sort of feeling. It's a relaxing feeling, and it definitely has an effect on you. But it's not gonna fuck you up in that term. So yeah, so we'll check out that interview with Greg from Root Awakening Kava. Enjoy. Hey friends, Oliver Ox here from the Doing Better podcast, and I'm here with Greg from Root Awakening. We're in Nashua, New Hampshire, and we're going to learn about kava, something that I actually knew nothing about until when's the first time I came in there, Greg? A few months ago?
A few months ago, yeah.
And Greg has taught me a lot, and hopefully we'll all learn a lot together today. So, what is kava?
All right, so this is a question that bringing the first Kava bar over to New England, I hear at least once a day. Kava's brand new to the Boston region, New England in general. So 90% of the guests that walk through these doors have never heard of it, never tried it, unless they've been to Florida or maybe the West Coast. So what is Kava? Kava is a root that comes from the South Pacific Islands. It comes from what's called the Piper methysticum shrub, and it's related to the pepper plant.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So when you drink Kava, there's a little bit of a bite to it.
Yeah.
Hence the reason why it's related to the pepper plant. So Kava is been consumed for the last 3,000 years. It's considered a ceremonial or peaceful root. Once upon a time in the Vanuatu Islands, there's a region that was heavily active and disputes over territories. So the one thing that would allow the chiefs to talk amicably to their rivals was this peace root. It was like a peace offering. So it's like a mutual understanding that the Kava root, we respect it, and not to cross any barriers. If we're going to sit down, we're going to talk, we're going to have Kava.
Right.
Put away the swords and the clubs and stuff. So, yeah. So folks like to drink it for its calming, relaxing properties.
Yeah.
It has a direct relationship with the GABA receptor in the brain, which is the part of the brain that shoots off your fight or flight hormone. So it regulates how much stress is being induced into the body. So with that direct relationship, it creates a nice, calm, relaxing feel.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and for any of you who've tried it, you definitely know about that, and it makes sense with the history because it is a very it's appropriate for a bar in a different type of bar, right? Like this is it's Kava bar similar to where one goes to partake of alcohol. So it's a very different feel from alcohol. Right?
Yeah. So what I like to say is, it loosens you up. All right. It allows you to be yourself. You don't, when you drink alcohol, you kind of get like that liquid courage feel where you feel like, you can do anything you want. All of a sudden you're up at 4 a.m. doing text messaging that damn well you shouldn't be doing. Kava is cool because what it does is it gives you that chatty social feel, hence the reason for a bar like this.
Right.
But you don't lose your cognitive function. You actually, if anything, I like to say you even get more focused at the task at hand. So whenever anyone leaves here and they're driving, they ask me, are you going to be okay to drive behind the wheel? I like to think they're going to drive even better.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a great description because it does have a powerful effect on you, but it's not intoxicating at all, right? You're not like, oh man, any of those feelings that you get with alcohol when you lose yourself. And that's something that many of us who in our youths have imbibed a little too much. Like you lose yourself when you drink, and that you don't get any of that with Kava.
Yeah, and I've had different explanations of what does it feel like. I've heard anything from it feels like you're stepping out of a hot shower to it feels like you're meditating with your eyes open, and yeah, it really just kind of puts you in that moment. Roots naturally kind of ground you. That's the purpose of them. Oh, cool. So you get a good, firm, presence in yourself. You're almost like your genuine self. You're not trying to put on some sort of facade of who you think that you should be acting like. You're you.
Right.
It's kind of a breath of fresh air,
Hence the name Root Awakening, right? Like that's the...
It's an awakening. Yes, yeah. Yes.
And it is very grounding. And I find, with the social aspect, like it is a very good feeling for socializing because again, it's not that like alcohol and some other drugs that will get you in a sort of like going off. It's a very sort of like connecting with other people, and it's a good listening thing to do.
So whenever I have to self-promote this. There's anyone else that is talking about Kava or at least pushing this. This is the only establishment. I'm like on an island up here in New England. So I have these conversations with small business owners, talk to the community, and I say it very firmly and confidently that I have the most unique bar in New England.
Yeah.
It's a place that people come and you don't have your standard conversations of you see it like at a dive bar, any bar, like, hey, what's the score in the Red Sox game? Or, what's happening? You kind of spark into a part of your brain where you want to have these deep, involved conversations. Right. So when you leave my bar, it almost feels like you bumped up your IQ a point or two.
Yeah. And I think also the people that are drawn somewhere like this
Are open-minded.
right? Like,
Yeah,
very
100%.
much. And I'm not the most outgoing person in like new social situations. Like if I go to a bar, I'm not gonna go talk to randos. Like that's not me. But when I've been here, I've definitely sparked up conversations and had people spark up conversations with me. And you just and again about deeper issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It not to hone in on this topic a little too much, but I will say that there's something that alcohol does to you when it comes to, especially guys. Like we kind of get on that. We put the S on the chest, like we feel like we're Superman for a minute. With this, I have one rule only. I've never had to enforce it. It's positive vibes only.
Right.
It's like as soon as you walk in the door, it's like your guard goes down. Someone just told me that last night. It's like, Greg, whenever I come here, I'm never like this, but when I come here, my guard goes down. Like I trust the environment where I'm at. So.
And I think the way you set this place up as well, with the furniture, with the decorations, it all sets up with that environment as well.
Yes,
Really,
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm not an interior designer, but I had to turn into one overnight. So all this that you see here, it was all about bringing the right ambiance and kind of making everything come together, from the music you hear to the visuals, the lighting, and all of it kind of comes together to have this good, relaxing environment. That's the platform is obviously the Kava, so it all kind of comes together that way.
Right. And definitely with the music, there's a couple times I've been here, I'm like, I haven't heard this song in ages. Like, this is my jam. Like,
yeah. That's one of the nice things that I love music, and it was cool when I was opening this place. I'm like, yes, I get to vibe out to all the stuff that I like, and so we from 80s jams to old school R&B to reggae to perfect bunch of different bands. I'm gonna jack some names if I try and name them off, but it's an eclectic music atmosphere for sure.
Well, so that's a good segue into what you've done here with music and with artists. So I've been here a few times and actually seen some of my favorite local bands here, and it seems like something you're putting a lot of effort into is curating arts and music here. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I have a guilty pleasure, and I still watch American Idol to this day. Reason being is I just getting up in front of an audience, in front of strangers, and it's just you there.
Right.
It's just you. If you have a band, it's just your band. But it takes a lot of courage. I respect that. I actually have a lot of admiration for that. I wish I had a better voice. I'd be up there singing as well. And it's one of those things I wish I was blessed with. But for somebody, stand up in front of an audience and just give it their all, I commend it. So when I was opening this place, as I said, I love music. I've had, everything from hip hop shows to, Liz Bill's amazing. Jessica Olsen. We have a hand pan. He plays on the Healing Nights. Everything that's kind of music related. So on the islands, when they drink their kava in their ceremonies, they have music going. When the teenagers prep the kava, so they'll pull the root out of the ground, and while they're prepping the root, they're singing kava songs. So there's something about kava that just kind of, brings that joyous feel, and kind of music, vibrations of music all kind of intersects with that. So
you talked about your healing nights. Can you talk a little bit more about the health aspect and the healing aspect? How does that all come together with Kava? Yeah,
so Kava has a lot of natural holistic healing properties to it. As a disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. This is not a medicine.
No doctors here. We're not prescribing anything. None of that. This is all just for educational purposes only.
Yes. So, you can look up Kava, and there's a long list of things that it helps, from achy joints, migraines, menopause, cramps, as big as, underlying issues like lupus, MS. I've had people with really strong underlying conditions. I had somebody actually got into a car accident, and it was her first time here. It's worth me telling this story. I haven't told it in a while, but she was sitting at the back table, and I could see her from where I was standing beyond the bar, and she kind of had she was on her second shell, and she had this look on her face where she was like, God, something wasn't right. I looked over, I'm like, you good? What's going on? And she starts doing this with her fingers, and she's like, I didn't tell you this, but I got in a car accident 7 years ago, and I've never been able to have feeling in this hand. And she's like, it's tingling right now. She's like, I'm kind of freaked out. So the kava root, it kind of goes into each individual's body's different. So it goes into that particular body, almost finds, like some imbalances, and it will focus on that area. And, if you're stressed out, it will kind of slow down that 9 to 5 tick rest into the next thing. Or if you have an achy joint, you'll find that achy joint. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's really nice in that sense.
There's one thing that I noticed. This is maybe a more of an adult topic. Has anyone ever told you about an effect on intimacy from kava? Because I definitely felt an effect from it.
Though I think this is going to be a great selling point for everyone, adults, of course. So it is considered a mild aphrodisiac. Yes. So I think that a lot of times we kind of let the mind get the best of us, and no matter what we're doing, our mind can. I could say fuck, right?
Yeah. All the fucks you want.
All right. Depending on, where our mind's at, and kind of fuck up the situation.
Yeah.
Let's just get the best of us.
Oh, yeah.
So kind of going back to what I was saying about the GABA receptor, it helps regulate, that stress hormone. So, yeah, if you're, got the Marvin Gaye going on and, you got the dim lights, a little kava, if you don't make it happen, may want to take a look into something else because
and I think like when we're talking about the ability to connect, like there's something there as well that I felt that sort of like that focus and connection.
Yes, that's a very great point. It really allows you to, again, like going back to like the conversations that we have, I'll sit down and have like 2-3 hour conversations with a customer. There'll be a group of us, like we just get so dialed into each other.
Yeah.
So just imagine if there's a little attraction there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fireworks. So yes, I would say that if you're looking for a date night, ladies and gentlemen, come to Root Awakening. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And even just for the conversation perspective, like you said, like I think you and I, the first time my wife and I were here, we chatted for hours. It felt like, and we really got into it.
We covered so many bases.
Yeah.
And every time, again, like. When you come in, it's like I light up. Like I'm excited to see you guys, and that's how it is with a lot of my customers because we get to know each other.
Right.
It's not like because of the deep level conversations, you actually really get to show yourself who you are. So I have customers here, that I'm going to trust for the rest of my life.
Right.
Like this can shut down tomorrow, and I have a list of people that I'm going to know the rest of my life because of what Kava's done. It's brought us all together.
And it seems like that's something that you focus on when you're staffing as well, because all the people that I've interacted with here are all great. Like it's a really good vibe.
Yes. Almost the way you go into a Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. They have their standard protocols that they have to follow. Here at Root Awakening, day one, I let it be known, as a bartender, a kava tender, you're going to want to not just serve a drink and say, see you later. It's really get to know your customer.
Right.
People want to come in and, have a drink and get to know who's on the other side of the bar.
Yeah.
So being able to allow to open that up and have a good, friendly staff without any, fake conversations.
Right.
I hate to use fake, but, a true, genuine bond and having that with your kava tender. And Danielle is just amazing. She's a gem. She's my manager. She's been here since day one. She's seen this place grow from nothing to something. So she does it great. We do it together, and we have 2 other employees, and we all do it the right way. So
yeah. Are there any hangover effects or contraindications? What's the downside? Is there a downside to kava?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So just like anything, you can overconsume almost anything. That bottle of water in your hand, if you drink that, there's been people that have actually passed away on
drowning.
There's like a radio contest one day, and it was like who can drink the most water. That person won, but they ended up passing away the next day. But I say that to say that yes, kava can definitely be overconsumed. I've seen it once here, and the person ended up throwing up. So it's kind of like a self-regulating type of system where, you might get a little drowsy, and, it's pretty easy to tell. It's not like, oh, I'm going to get behind the wheel and start driving, I'm going to fall asleep. Nothing like that.
Right.
But when I was opening this place, one of the things I wanted to do is get to understand and know, the dark sides. What are some of the cons behind this? So I Googled. I'm like, who's gotten a DUI off of Kava? So I had to do a lot of search, and there was one person in North Carolina, and they ended up getting a DUI, but they came from a Kava bar, and they had like a ton of different substances in their system.
Oh, okay.
But because they were leaving the Kava bar was the culprit. So yeah, side effects. You're not going to wake up with hangovers. That's one of the nice effects of it. It's kind of nice in that sense. So, you get to drink and socialize, and, I actually feel like I wake up with more energy, a little more clear, a little more focused. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've never had any. I've never felt any downsides.
Yeah.
So what brought you to Kava? Like, how'd you learn about it? What in your personal journey sort of made it appeling to you? Like,
yeah.
why
So
Kava for you?
I was introduced to Kava by my best friend on the West Coast. He has about 6 Kava bars out there. He's actually the president of American Kava Association, and I reconnected with him, and he kind of put me onto it. It was back in 2016, and so I started consuming it. And I was working remotely. I was in corporate sales, and I started drinking during my daytimes. And I was realizing I was having some of my best conversations / sales days while I was rooted.
Okay.
Yeah, rooted meaning, so that's the feeling that we get when we're drinking Kava.
That's the word we use?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't get
Rooted.
drunk, we don't get
Okay.
high, we get rooted. So when I was having these conversations rooted, they were just so controlled, and I almost, didn't rush myself, and, my mouth wasn't running faster than my brain. It was almost like everything was in sync, and I was able to convey all the information in a good way. And so I started using it, drinking it during that time, and then I'm going to school, so I started drinking when I have a lot of work. Like if I have like a hard paper for my MBA, I just drink a lot of Kava, and I get so focused, so dialed in, and I just started drinking it more and more. And so the story of how, I guess this is a good time to explain, how I got into the industry. So
Yeah. So, this show is called Doing Better, and it's all about. This is why I chose you as my first guest, because it's very easy, and I've been a culprit of this so many times, to sit back and go, here's what's wrong with the world, and everybody needs to change, and this system and that system, and I will still do that. I got some problems with some systems, I'll tell you, but I really want to focus for Doing Better on people that are doing better, and that's what. Especially you're saying the first in New England, the first anywhere around here, introducing. I mean, you must have taught so many people about this. Like, you are doing a thing, and so like, let's talk about that. Like, what got you into doing this? And, like,
right.
Really, it's a leap. Starting a business is no joke. Like, what made you make the leap?
Yeah, so I almost got goosebumps you saying that. My journey has been not an easy thing at all. Nothing was given to me. Nothing was. Every possible roadblock you could think of was thrown in my way, in every possible form you could think of. I almost felt like the walls were closing in on me while opening this. Some of my darkest moments was while I was opening this place. I hit rock bottom while opening this place, and I needed it. So I was in corporate sales, and in 2020, when the coronavirus happened, my industry was there 1 minute and it was gone the next minute, right? So at that point, I was kind of thinking of my next venture in life. I had a really deep awakening when back in 2019, my brother passed away from drinking alcohol.
Oh wow, sorry.
Never touched a drug in his life. He smoked weed like twice, and both times were me. He was young, 42. Family, kids, the whole nine. Wow. And alcohol just, it runs in my family. And so when I was thinking of my next opportunity in life, I got to know the benefits of Kava. And, another thing is he suffered from seizures, and Kava is actually used in different parts of the world as a holistic approach to minimizing seizures, and is highly effective. So everything kind of pointed to it. I was like, wow, not necessarily I'm getting, redemption or, living for my brother, but it does feel like that, like he's in my corner while I'm doing this whole thing. I have a lot of recovering alcoholics that come in that thank me almost every day about this thing. So, Jack, you're up there, absolutely, this is definitely for you, but that's a big part of it. And what definitely did, help this situation is my best friend of all people. I grew up with him. We used to go camping together and hang out, and he's just a really great guy. He just happens to be one of the more influential people in the world when it comes to Kava. So everything just aligned, and between my my background in sales and just being a go-getter, like nothing's going to be given to you in life.
Right.
I feel very passionate and convicted with the fact that you sometimes have to go through struggles to get what you want. If anything's just given to you, it probably isn't worth it. There's probably something that, it's great. If that happens to you, some people it does. That's awesome. But I was never that person that ever, had anything easily, handed to me. So,
So I tell my kids anything worth having is worth working for.
yes.
Yeah.
And you appreciate it more.
Absolutely.
So when I was able to finally open, it was, I was spending 6-7 hours a day here painting walls on YouTube, trying to figure out how to build bars, how to do plumbing stuff. And it was hard. And when I look back, like everything I did this is my creation. So it all means that much more to me now. So, I think I forgot where we were at with the question, but
actually, let's sort of talk about you mentioned some struggles in getting started, and after you started up, what was that? What was the resistance?
So,
because especially, start brand new, first person doing this, like you're gonna get resistance. The system always pushes back.
Right, exactly. So Kava is one of these things that it's, as we talked about already, we covered that there's medical benefits to it, as holistic approaches to helping wean off of different substances. So let me just say this. Kava is, if you don't know about it, you're not educated enough to know the truth about it. If you Google it, you're going to see some things that's like this information where you get your information. Whoever distributes that info up there, it's not the most, complimenting things about Kava.
Right.
If you look up alcohol, you'll see all these delicious recipes of, where to go and all that. All of a sudden you look up Kava and it's like it does X, Y, Z, consult with your doctor, blah, 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 blah.
Right. I think anybody who's tuning in has some experience with Google misleading them, shall we say. And I think this is something that's especially relevant where we are. We're in Nashua, New Hampshire, and throughout here in the Merrimack Valley, we've really struggled with opiate problems around here. And everybody I know, and I've lost a few people in my life to opiates. And everybody I know started with a prescription from their doctor or got it from someone who got a prescription from their doctor. And if you Google these things, they'll that's a fine painkiller for, it'll help you if you struggle with pain and been in an accident, and sort of whitewash or put a positive spin on something that I think is horrific in 90% of cases.
Yes.
Unless you're bedridden, opiates are terrible things.
Yes. But before I even, comment, I will say that, these rehab facilities, they do a lot of good, positive things. So, they have their objective, and it's to help people out. But a lot of times there isn't a long-term solution. It's always kind of keeping them on that prescription. Right. There's no exit plan.
Right.
By design, I don't know. Wink, wink.
Yeah, it seems like much of the substances and the solutions pushed by the system don't have exit plans. It's a long-term profit source.
Oh, it's a great business model. Oops,
Right.
Did I say that out loud? So so when I was opening, some of the pushback was actually coming from the recovery community, which I was kind of baffled. I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking I'm bringing this sacred root that Mother Nature has blessed us with. I thought it was going to be greeted with open arms,
Right.
But it was quite the contrary. I was having, city officials, state officials, denying health licenses, and I had,
Wow.
these rehab facilities like legit protesting me from opening.
Wow.
So I was supposed to open initially in December 2021, and I didn't end up opening till June of 2022.
Oh, wow.
So it was a nasty fight. And I kind of go back to, saying I hit my deepest, darkest moments. It was tough.
Yeah.
I mean, there were days where I was like, I don't know if this is going to happen. My friends and family, even though I had that little bit in the back of my head, I always knew what I was doing right, and I believed in myself, and I just knew that there was something bigger that was pushing me towards this. And I would have friends and family saying, Greg, maybe you should think about, an exit plan, this whole thing. This, like the people I thought were going to be there for me.
Right.
And, there's a couple of them, the loyal ones in the corner, that help with these positive reinforcements. But, I had to properly educate, these officials that, first of all, it's my freedom of assembly to be able to open my own business.
Right.
It's not like I'm bringing the first Kava bar to the United States. There's about 200 of these things. What makes me different, because I'm up in New Hampshire, land of the free, right? Live free or die hard. It's kind of ironic with how that worked out. But with the proper education and sitting down with city officials, my best friend Tyler, he flew out from Sacramento, and we had a 3-hour powwow where, we had to kind of iron a lot of things out. And, I'm just blessed that we were able to do it.
Yeah.
I got the final decision of getting my license after it was denied a day before Christmas. And that was the best Christmas gift I could possibly ask for. I broke down. I was just so emotional. I just hung up the phone. My wife was looking at me, and I just had tears coming down.
Well, it's a blessing for the people in Nashua and the local area. I mean, Root Awakening is really contributing and really adding to what goes on here.
Yeah, thus far, I always tell people, it's almost like Cheers minus the alcohol.
Yeah.
We have our regulars that come in, and we all know each other, and, like I said, I'm going to know these people for the rest of my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Real friends, family.
Do you think, how do you see this fitting in to, to the health and wellness in general, both on the, do you think it threatens any industries? Do you think it complements anything in particular? Like, where does Kava and where does Root Awakening fit into?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we're in a time now where people are starting to think for themselves in terms of, what's best for them.
Yeah.
College students are actually drinking less alcohol now.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's gone down significantly where people are actually looking for alternatives to these shit-faced nights.
Yeah. Which is a good thing. My apologies to anyone who's watching this who was a victim of any of my shithead and shit-faced nights in my youth. I mean, I was a classic. I went to college. Oh, let's go, and
Oh yeah, it's in our social
acted
fabric.
like a jackass for the majority of the time.
Yeah, and it's so acceptable. Like, I was in corporate America, and it'd be like Monday morning, and people would talk about suit and tie. Oh yeah, I was hugging the toilet this weekend,
Right.
and I was so shit faced, and it's just normal. Like, it's just, alcohol turns you into. It can turn a switch where it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Right.
But to see a society that's starting to kind of see that, realize that there are other opportunities. So I'm glad that I told you about the parts of this that I appreciate in terms of the health benefits and how it helps people. Now, on the business side,
Right.
I'm the beginning of something I believe is going to spread like wildfire. So in that sense, I do believe that there's going to be more Kava bars popping up.
Yeah.
If it's not going to be me, it's going to be somebody else in New England. So yeah, I firmly believe you're going to see them pop up. You're just in Arizona, and you saw there's a couple out there.
Couple out there, yeah.
They're popping up in Texas. It's almost like every month a new one opens up. There's actually a Kava map that shows all the different Kava bars, and they're all pinned. It's funny, and then you see New England, you just see one little pin, it's me in this little island.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hopefully in time though, that's going to all increase. And, I may or may not be looking at a second location right now.
Hey,
I'm
okay,
just
so
saying.
good. So you're hoping to expand what you're doing here throughout New England,
100%.
long term.
100%. So I put a business plan together. I had a vision going into this. Ironically enough, as I was, putting this all together in real life, I'm going out for my MBA program. So everything that all my dissertation papers, all my projects, they aligned with what I was doing outside of school. Nothing hypothetical. It was all stuff that translated into here. So yes, I mean, I do want to franchise the brand. I do want to eventually become the person with the most kava bars in the United States, maybe in the world.
Nice.
I'm thinking big, and
Good.
you only live once. So
Yeah.
And the effects of this and how many people it helps, I almost feel like I'm doing God's work with this thing. So
Absolutely. All right. So for other people trying to do better, who got their own lane that they want to pursue, and especially I feel like your advice would be really valuable, because you had to jump through so many hoops, so many roadblocks, so many people trying to stop what you were doing. What advice do you have for people that want to start their own business?
Yeah. So first of all, you definitely want to have something that distinguishes yourself. You want to have something that you're not like the next guy next to you.
Yeah.
You want to set yourself aside from the crowd somehow, some way. Put your little spin on it with something. When I sit down and I listen to a podcast, I listen to, the Rogans, the Patrick Bet-David, but I go to people with all these different type of personalities, that deliver something in their own specific way. What that might be, I don't know. So, only you know what that personal thing is. And you keep it true to yourself. Keep it thorough. Never lose sight of who you are, what your vision is. Because when all else fails, when you're hitting all these roadblocks, all you're going to be left with is just your initial vision.
Right.
But that's your roadmap, and that's what keeps you on track to keep going.
Right.
And be ready for those blows. The hardest lessons I always find are the best opportunities for growth. So when you're down and out and something bad happens, a lot of people like to just say, "Oh shit, the world did this to me."
Yeah.
I don't look at it that way. I look at it like, "Oh damn, this happened to me. There's a piece of gold in there.
Right.
What is it? Where can I grow from this opportunity?" I've had it countless occasions, from opening this place, having difficult times with XYZ. And I take a step back and I try and assess what it is, and I ensure that doesn't happen again. So it's almost like a snake shedding skin. You're always kind of redeveloping yourself. If you're not growing, you're staying stagnant. You have to stay in motion, always kind of creating something new for yourself, and learning from each experience, and just be diligent.
Right.
Just be ready to go. And it takes a lot of self-awareness. So these are like conversations, you have up here, by yourself, like, all right, what do we do here?
Right.
Like only you know.
Yeah.
You can get all the advice you want, but at the end of the day, you really know you and what your vision is. So always trust yourself, and appreciate your value as a person.
And I think you hit on something that is a theme for me and for the show as well. Is that there is no staying the same. There is no, there is no, I'm just, same today as I was tomorrow. You're either growing, you're either getting better, or you're getting worse. You're stagnating. You're rotting away effectively.
If you rest, you rust. That's
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, that's a great one. Yeah. If you rest, you rust. I like that a lot. Let's talk about how people can experience Root Awakening for themselves.
Yeah, so if you're in New England or anywhere, I get people from different corners of the country coming here, but this tends to be a destination location. I have people driving from Maine, from Rhode Island, Connecticut, just to come to this kava bar. So, with that being said, Monday through Friday, 7 days a week, not Monday through Friday, Monday through Monday, 2 p.m., 12 a.m. and we're open 7 days a week. On Fridays, we do events. So, that's something to, if you have Instagram, Facebook, check out Root Awakening Kava, and you'll see all the different events we have going on. You'll see some of the journey that I went through while opening this place. And yeah, I'm very responsive. So if anyone has any questions on any of these platforms, I do all the social media. Feel free to reach out to me and any questions at all. If you guys look up on Google, the number that goes right to my cell phone. So I have a lot of conversations. It's part of bringing something new, and I'm ready to help deliver the message firsthand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll link all the socials and everything and how to find out about it. And where are we located?
300 Main Street, Nashua, New Hampshire. We're right next door to Supercuts and a laundromat. So if you punch it in the GPS, you'll be taken to Shaw's. But yeah, we're right in the front. You'll see us, and yeah.
And what's for people who see this in the next few days? What are some upcoming events you got going on?
Yeah, so on May 19th, we have a healing night. The healing night's pretty cool. So this is like our 5th or 6th one. So we have massage therapists that are actually in this back room here. We have a psychic medium who is phenomenal.
My wife met with him before and was really impressed.
I've had folks literally walk out here in tears because some of the stuff that he said. And I personally, when I first kind of sat down, I was beyond skeptical, right?
Yeah, I was in the same mindset.
Yeah. So when he's holding your hands, he's kind of telling there was one point in time where he's holding my hands. He says something to me. I'm like, how'd you know that?
Yeah.
So yeah, psychic mediums, massage therapists, and then we have live music, a handpan, healing night, and then we're doing open mic 2 weeks from then. Open mic is just going to be a plethora of talent from singers, spoken word, a didgeridoo. We have a harmonica player. So again, if you do want to get on that, just DM me and we can get you on the list. Starts from 8 to 11, no cover charge with any of my events. Not yet, at least. Yeah.
And those are always Friday nights.
So the Healing Night's Friday, that open mic is actually on a Saturday.
Okay.
And then June 7th, we're doing a Taste of Downtown with the city of Nashua, where I'm going to be sampling kava to the community. Yeah.
Cool. And let's bring it all together at the end. How can Root Awakening help people do better?
Very good question. So Root Awakening, well, first I would say, do a little research on kava. Okay, kind of learn what it is, understand the benefits from it. And if you come into Root Awakening, and everyone has their different story, and if you come in here, there's going to be people just like you that have the same journeys in life, maybe the same struggles, the same things that makes you smile, laugh, cry. We all go through the same stuff. So being able to actually have someone to discuss that with in a good, respectful, and caring manner, that's what you're going to get when you come into Root Awakening. You're not going to have someone just saying, oh, okay, good. Oh, yeah. No, it's an engaged atmosphere, and it's really nice like that. So
Connection.
Yeah, you're going to get a really good connection, vibe. I have a lot of my customers that come in after their 9 to 5, and you could see it when they walk through the doors. You could see just the world weighing on their shoulders. By the time they leave, it's like, okay, now I can go back into this chaos in this world a little more balanced, a little more focused.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And as we said, 300
Main Street, Nashua, New Hampshire.
Come check it out.
Unit 603. I'm all about numbers, and Unit 603 area code, all kinds of nice stuff like that. So, yeah, love to see you guys. If you come in and you mention this podcast, we'll give you a free round on the house.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you, Greg from Root Awakening. This is the Doing Better podcast with Oliver Ox.
Bula.
So one thing that came up recently, we just got back from vacation. We went to Arizona and went to the Grand Canyon and went to Sedona, did some hiking. It was beautiful. I would highly recommend it to anyone who can get out there.
Too broke right now, but
Yeah,
Maybe in the future.
I'm broke as a result of said trip. So yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta save my pennies now. So we had one little incident, and my wife and I were talking about a little bit about. So it brings up the point of when to call out people. So we see it a lot. It's a big thing in social media, the sort of the Karen videos
Oh, yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. So we had a little incident. We were hiking down to Sedona, and Sedona is this absolutely beautiful place, lots of national parks. And the national parks, one of the places we want to go is real popular. So we went to go drive down there to the spot to hike, and you couldn't get in. You had to take, when we went down and saw the dude, it's like the road's blocked off. And he goes, oh no, if you go back up there, you can get a shuttle bus. There's a shuttle bus comes around, they'll drop you off down there. Cool. So we walked back and we went up there and we're waiting for the shuttle bus, and the dude pulls around, and I asked like, oh, can we go down to the spot, Cathedral Rock? And he's like, oh no, this shuttle doesn't go down there. I don't pick people up and bring them down there for that. You got to walk down there. So no, it was like a 1.5 mile walk, no big deal. So we walked down there. It was a little weird because we're the only ones walking down there. This is a touristy spot. So we walked down there, and it's like almost like through a neighborhood almost, but like fancy, like big $10 million look like Dr. Evil lair type mansions, like whatever. And we get down there, and fairly shortly after, the dude pulls up in the shuttle bus to drop people off. So, and my wife is like, the fuck? So she went up and she spoke to him. She's like, yeah, why did you not pick us up or whatever? And she was thinking there was a racial piece there because it's a very white tourist destination, Arizona. When we're at the Grand Canyon, like it's 95% of the tourists there are white, and there's a few Asians and very little else. And she thought that might be a factor. And so she went up and confronted the guy. And it got a little worse because when we went to go back, so we did take the shuttle bus back. There's a whole bunch of other people down there when we went to go back, and he picked up the whole group of people, brought us back to the place where he wouldn't pick us up from, and then picked up other people from there and then took them down. So like exactly what he said. He's like, oh no, his excuse to my wife was, oh yeah, I'm not allowed to pick people up from that parking lot. But then the moment he dropped us off, he picked people up from that parking lot. And she went and said something to him. So which she was entirely justified to do, in my opinion. But the question that sort of raised for me is, when should you confront strangers for the way that they treat you? And I feel like and again, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like there's 3 ways of looking at this. One is this thing that the first teaching job I ever had, they had a great, it was at a little charter school, and in our meetings, they had a great principle, and they called it generosity of spirit. And generosity of spirit is that you assume other people are benevolent and want what's best and are generally well-meaning and not just trying to be assholes. And I've, ever since this was 15 years ago, but ever since then, I've really held on to that idea that like, it's very easy to misinterpret somebody else's intentions and assume somebody else is just trying to be a dick when they're actually not. You just don't understand what's going on with it. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You don't realize, oh, they're in a rush because they're late for a job interview, and it's really important if they don't get this job that they, can't get a new apartment that's in a better neighborhood for the kids to go to school and da-da-da-da-da, right? So I think that's one reason you might not confront somebody, because you're like, well, it could be some other reason for that. The other reason you could not confront someone is because you're like, fuck it, this is not worth my time and my energy and I'm not going down to their level, and I'm not trying to do that. And I think the third way of looking at it is like, fuck that, they're not going to get away with that. And if everybody lets those people get away with that, what kind of world are we going to live in that people can treat other people that way? People who mistreat other people need to be called to the mat and held accountable. And I want to specifically focus on people you don't know, because I think with people it gets a lot more complicated and there's all kinds of layers to that. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you guys do in in those situations, what you think is the right thing to do, what you think people should do. What do you do if you think a stranger is mistreating you?
So, for me, it kind of depends if I care enough in that moment. 'Cause sometimes it's like I'm a server, so sometimes it's something as stupid as like, say, oh, the drinks weren't brought fast enough, or you got me the wrong one, or like, oh, I asked for Diet Coke, not Coke. Like, I'm like, okay, let me just. It's an easy fix. It's like nothing. I don't need to argue about it. I don't need to confront you about it. If it can be fixed super like fast, I'm gonna do it. It's whatever. But then there's other times where it's like people are weird, and that situation that was weird. He was weird for that. 'Cause like, why? What was the reason?
We had a couple other instances with bus drivers in at the national park for the Grand Canyon as well. And again, I don't know if reading into it too much or not. But then when they're like, why did you let those people on, and not like, why are you making us stand out here and wait and you let those other people on? Now I think maybe my wife's aunt lives out there, and she's like, oh yeah, people down here are fucking racist. And like when all the Trump stuff was happening, like she's like, then they were bold and racist. So I think that maybe there's a piece that's true. And I think when you think about the demographic of bus driver, no insult to any bus drivers out there in the world, I apologize if you're offended by this, but it's not generally the most educated and enlightened job maybe. So I think maybe you're more likely to have people have those views. Engineer Des, you were there that day. What are your thoughts?
My thing is, what do you gain? What purpose is that?
Can I make a comment on that? So some people literally don't have no control at all in their life, at all. So that one moment or that one thing can mean the world to somebody. And that's crazy to me, because literally some people can't control nothing about their lives, when in reality you could control everything about your life. You're in the position that you are because of actions that you did, So it's just crazy how literally there's some people that like the only thing that they have power on is telling you to put on your mask, or telling you, oh, I can't do that, or I don't want to do that. And that's like all the control that they have in their life, because everything in their life, they're either not confident enough, or whatever circumstances going on in their life that they can't do anything else. So it's kind of like, it's a touchy topic, but like, when you understand that maybe that's that one person's like the only thing that they can control, they can't even control what they eat later, they can't even control what they wear, they can't even control anything. That one moment will mean so much to somebody, and you wouldn't even understand. Some people will go to war over something little like that just because that's the only power that they have in their life.
I think that is such a good point.
And then some people are bored.
That too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the question though. So with that perspective, what's the appropriate response from you?
To be honest, I don't care, as long as you're not directly affecting me. I'm pretty good at acting stupid or just not doing nothing. Or at least like in a phone store, like let's say somebody comes in acting arrogant or like entitled, or they expect me to do something, I'll be like, oh nah, I'm sorry, this guy that's supposed to do that, he's not here. Like I just make up something, and I'll just make myself laugh out of it.
What does someone have to do for you to say, no, I'm calling them out?
It depends on the day. And I'm just gonna say that because sometimes I have the patience for it, other times I don't. I went off on a coworker literally recently, and it was over the dumbest thing, but that was just the tiny thing that I needed just to blow up.
Were you justified?
What do you mean?
Like, was it right for you to go off on them?
I mean, I felt like if I didn't, nobody else was going to, and then they would continue to do that said thing that pissed me off. So like in some cases like that, yeah, whatever. I even like talked to them after and was like, I am sorry I blew up at you, but I don't regret anything I said. I said this and that because of this, and they were like, yeah, no, I get it, I understand, like it's cool. sometimes if something's bothering me and it's bothering me to the point where I can't like focus on anything else, I will say something.
Interesting.
And then other times it's just like curiosity. Cause like this is like old high school stupid stuff, but like some people like didn't like me and
I don't know why. Cool people.
they just didn't like me, and I just literally just senior year, I remember going up to people and being like, hey, so why'd you say this, or like why'd you not like me or whatever, and then they gave me their answer and I'm like, that was really stupid, that was really dumb. I had someone stop being friends with me for the dumbest reason ever.
Do you think they were honest with you when you confronted them?
Yeah, you can kind of just tell when someone's like being more honest with you, especially since it's like, you know, senior year, everybody says whatever, does whatever, because it's like you're never going to see that person ever again. So I took that.
In theory.
Yeah, in theory. But they basically, I just felt like they told me the truth because of that. Because I knew if I asked them before, they weren't going to tell me.
That makes sense. I think my line for confronting people is sort of goes along with what you were saying about some people just needing to exert the tiny little bit of power or influence or control they have in that moment. So my big trigger for when I actually will confront someone is people in positions of power. If I think you're abusing your power, and unlikely to shoot me for confronting you, because obviously there's sometimes with the certain people in certain positions of authority on the street or whatever, you get pulled over or whatever, it's maybe not the right time to confront someone and abusing their power.
Place.
But I've definitely been someone in the past to, you know, in work situations and otherwise, that if I think you're abusing your power, and not even necessarily over me, but over other people that are powerless, that's my big trigger, and that's when I will really speak up and be like, no, you can't do that, and I don't care what you do to me, because you can't treat people that way.
The best way I feel like to deal with people in positions of power is to just play the game. Like, you know how you said, like, the politics, like you go with the politics. Like, let's say how she brought up a point, like, you know, I didn't even think about, like, argument with a coworker, like whatever it was. My first week of work, you know, I like to smoke weed, whatever. I smelled like weed. It is what it is. Like, you know, went in there, it's the vibe. The manager already told me, like, you know, it's fine. It's just like there's certain people that walk through. People like sending emails. People like saying this, that, and the third. We're in New Hampshire. It's, you know, a whiter demographic. So, like, whatever. One of my white coworkers, whatever. So apparently he was saying something about me that, like, I don't really remember the details too much, but basically, like, my manager had to say something, because if he doesn't say something, he looks bad, because it's like, oh, an employee's talking about this to the general manager. Right. But so it went down the line. District manager was emailing me, emailing me, and then the employee was a whole email thread. He decided to just, like, okay, I can't say nothing to the managers because they're managers, but he's just an employee, like he's food. So whatever. People don't know I did a semester in law school. So I know how to talk. I know how to really, really read, really, like, specific words, you know? So I basically sent him, like, a really nicely worded email. I was like, okay, so I understand where you guys are coming from. You feel me? But it's like you guys are listening to somebody that every single day that I've been coming in this week, you guys tell me I have to be on time. This dude opens 5 minutes late every single day. You know, like, and it wasn't even like I was saying directly him. It was like, you know, because he said something like, oh, somebody that's been in this field should know a little bit more, like, you know, a little, you know, kind of like a little bit shade. So I was like, I should know a little bit more. So like, all right, so you should know if you're training somebody, you shouldn't be late at all, especially the first week. What kind of example you're showing? And then whatever, I just ended up just saying that. And I was like, oh, also too, like, you know, I don't get like this back and forth, like this emailing stuff. Like, we're all men. We can't just sit down and talk. Like, you can't just talk to me about something first before, like, oh, bringing it to an email thread, so then the whole company sees, like, this is going on. So it's like...
That's something...
I got him kicked out the store, by the way, because I played the politics. I just, you know, I was doing everything right, so he couldn't really talk shit. And then my manager was like, get higher numbers than him, and I got you. And I got higher numbers than him in 2 weeks than he did in a month. So it was like, yeah, we're sending you back to this store. So he ended up getting kicked out. I don't work with him anymore. And that's, you know, you play the politics right, that's what happens.
I don't like when people do that.
Like, do what?
Go directly, like, to a manager about a problem. Like, I feel like you have to at least try to figure it out on your own,
Yeah.
or like try and fix the issue on your own before you go up like the, I don't know, what is it called? Like,
Chain of command.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think even worse than that, though, is when everyone just talks behind everyone's back and
Oh,
nobody
yeah.
even brings to anybody's.
The definition
Attention.
of my job.
Yeah.
The definition of every job.
For the record, as a proud New Hampshire resident, that person should have minded their own business because it's the live free or die state. So that's how New Hampshire people should be, is minding their own fucking business, because that's how we're supposed to get down in New Hampshire.
He talked to me after, like, hey, I wasn't trying to come off no type of way. It's just, the managers were talking to me and they told me, like this, that, and the third.
But
and
did
that people
anybody
were saying
tell you?
this. And I was like, bro, like all of this conversation was happening and nobody fucking told me.
You
Like,
see?
it's been 4 days of me starting this job. You guys got me feeling so uncomfortable. Like, I was like, bro, like what? I'm going to work smelling like weed one day, never again, because I'm an adult. I get it. That's
Right.
not good in your workplace. Like, I'm over here spraying myself before going into work, not smoking, spraying myself still just because I know myself. And then they're over here still saying that I smell when they're not even in the store. And it's like, bro, what? Like, how does that even make sense? How are you not in my location? I'm with another coworker that's cool, but then people are saying, oh, you smell like weed.
Well, so then to bring it back, I think we have an answer to the confronting thing, at least on one point, right? Like, if you're going to keep on keeping on about something, if you're going to go make a deal about something either behind someone's back or to their boss, that's when you should confront somebody, right? Like,
Yeah.
you should, I don't want to say man up. What's the gender neutral term for man up?
Play
help
the
me with this.
politics.
But like, you should be straight with people. I'm not allowed to say that either. Anyway, you should be direct. There we go. You should be direct with people rather than go and play games or go behind people's back. If something is actually worth you bringing it up again in the future, you should be direct with people.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. It was like first day they're sending emails that I'm doing good. I was asking all the right questions. This is that and the third. And then like 2 days later, oh, he comes into work smelling like weed every single day. I don't think he's a good fit for the team. This and that. And I was like,
That's
yo,
wild.
like,
Wow.
That's
whoa. And it's like after the first day, I didn't come in smelling like weed. So this day I don't smoke when I go into work just because like I don't want to deal with any of that stuff. It's like...
The amount of problems in this world that would be solved by people minding their own fucking business
Facts.
is just forever long. There's a long list.
When I see people do that, like, I don't know if this sounds like, I don't know, kind of like rude or something to say, but I honestly think that if people go out of their way to do something that has nothing to do with them, they're just bored with their own lives.
Yeah.